Hey everybody, welcome to the Chem Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about Bitcoin, stablecoins, and building the financial layer of the tokenized economy.
Check us out, guys. Give us a download and hope you enjoy the show.
This is building the financial layer of the tokenized economy. We're here with Seth and Zane, the CEO and president of Chem.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
What is Chem and why now?
Chem is a stablecoin superbank that allows people to get access to an array of financial services anywhere in the world, and it's entirely powered by the financial infrastructure that is stablecoins.
So how did we get here? How did we start on this road? I think we got to just tell a little bit of the story of how we got here first.
So originally we were in the more fintech space, and we were TradFi, and we were developing a product that was to remove the friction that was associated with the banking rails and moving money. Same thing with exchange houses. There was an incredible amount of difficulty for people from all over the world, Philippines, India, in this kind of MENA market that had to go through these exchange houses where they would provide cash up front to send money back home.
Right.
And essentially we sought out to ameliorate that problem that people had. And ultimately that led us to realize that dealing with the traditional financial system maybe wasn't the way, and building everything on this breakthrough of technology, which is stable coins and
so leapfrogging all the way to stable coins, I think, is the kind of key point of what we're trying to do here. We've kind of worked a lot in the TradFi space here, and I think what we've found is that really doesn't work as well as what the promise of stable coins is, right? It's programmable money, it's open, it's cheap, and it's fast. And I think that's what so many people all over the world are really, finding comfort in and trying to use a lot more, just to be able to send money back home or to their friends, or basically to move money in all different kinds of ways, right? Because you can do all of these new and unique things with stablecoins that were not possible with the old financial system. You couldn't program money to do things. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think especially in countries where you're seeing, dire economic situations and hyperinflation of currencies, stable coins has provided extremely useful for people who need to get access to the dollar and the stability of the dollar. And that kind of ties into our investor, Tether, who backed us. And they're the largest first issuer of U.S. stable coins. And
well, that's the thing, that they're able to do so much better than any other NGO or aid kind of organization. They're able to deliver access to the dollar for much cheaper to places all over the world where getting access to banking services or trying to participate in the traditional financial economy just doesn't make sense or is not viable for most of those people. And I think that's what we were trying to solve, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of relating to the title of the video, the financial layer on top of the tokenized economy, there's going to be a lot of products that are being built on top of stable coins that we're going to see coming about over the next few years, us being one of them, of course. But there are so many applications of stables, and we'll talk a little bit about later, which is
I think this is the point. I think we should just get right into it. I think, which is that we're trying to build a bank upon all of these new financial tools that exist, which are much more open and buildable on top of, right, to be able to offer whatever kind of services that we want. So we just launched like a savings product last week, and that's something we're super excited about. And that's basically just a token called SUSDE. It's basically a staked Athena. And what that does is it generates yield for our customers in the same way that a traditional savings deposit would, but taking advantage of decentralized finance, if you will, which is a fair market, open, accessible way for anyone to be able to get access to these services.
If you download the Chem app on the App Store or the Google Play Store, you have a variety of financial products that you can get access to. So you can purchase Bitcoin, you can purchase Ethereum, USDT, and gold as well, which is in collaboration with XAUT, which is the tokenized gold that Tether had started. We allow people to send that money to anyone in the world, P2P, based on a username.
Why should someone buy, say, for example, tokenized gold with us rather than their brokerage or actually buying, physical the bars? Why should someone buy it with us, buy it with Chem?
I think what's incredible about the tokenized gold space especially is that it's the transferability of gold that has become now immensely easier than if you were to have to buy gold before. And this is just a way for people to move that store of value now anywhere in the world to anyone. And I think especially, in markets like the Middle East or India, there's an incredibly high demand for gold, and a lot of the gold is held here. And so people having access to just own that digitally provides a numerous amount of benefits. So that's something we're very excited
and they can
about.
use it kind of as like a functional everyday currency rather than this, difficult to understand concept, with all of, most currencies basically depegging from gold.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the slogan we were using for our socials was "Gold just became more liquid."
Yeah, exactly.
And you can easily convert it to US dollars within the application and then spend it on your Chem Crypto card, which is a card that we actually issued just recently in the last few months that is powered by USDT. So you can spend your USDT anywhere in the world at any supported of the 150 million merchants I believe it is now.
Yeah, so this is kind of a new phenomenon, this whole concept of like a stablecoin card, right? And I think what the point is it's a much more efficient system of basically running a bank, right? Because we have the access to program this money to do whatever we want, we're able to settle instantly, and basically allow customers to do a lot more with their money before they decide to spend it. And I think that's kind of one of the key offerings.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about Tether, Tron, and that whole kind of ecosystem support. And maybe you can talk about Tether investment.
So Tether is they're the creator of this technology, stable coins, which basically what it is it's like a crypto dollar, and it basically maintains a one-to-one peg with an equivalent dollar, and that is all secured on the blockchain, right? So that's open and transparent. You can see where money is being moved, but it's also very anonymous at the same time. It's a much more private way of doing business. And I think it's kind of becoming really the gold standard, where we're seeing huge companies like Stripe, PayPal, and a bunch of other ones, and even banks, JP Morgan as well, is launching their own stablecoin, right? They're a little bit late to the game, but I think there's immense value in why stablecoins exist. And so Tether has pioneered that technology right from the beginning in 2014 when they first launched the first stablecoin. And we kind of believe in what a lot of their mission is really the advancement of freedom and allowing people the access to their own money that they deserve, right? It's so that someone in a poorer country anywhere in the world doesn't have to deal with hyperinflation of their currency. They have this equivalent that is redeemable for an equivalent amount of value. They can save within those dollars as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, Tether raised our seed round, and, they've been committed to supporting us throughout this whole process. And the team at Tether has been incredibly helpful. So, we're very, very happy to be working with them. Maybe we could also talk a little bit about the Tron grant. So, of course, USDT is supported on many different networks, Tron being the largest of the networks that USDT is supported on. And so we also have a close relationship with Tron as well, and they've supported us with gas subsidies. So sending USDT on Tron is now free on the Chem app, and you can essentially send USDT on Tron anywhere for free.
Yeah, exactly. So that's definitely something great that our customers are really enjoying, is being able to get access to the largest network for stablecoins and being able to send that money back home or do whatever they need to do to get the money into the right place. And I think that's what Tron as well was seeing, right? They wanted to make sure that they could capture this remittance market, right? When you're thinking about the way that money flows around the world, the Gulf to India is really one of the largest remittance channels in existence. And it's a lot of, migrant workers that come and that try and work and, earn their hard-earned dollars and, send that money back home to their families, which, are in dire need of that money, right? So that's what we're seeing, a lot more volume go onto that, as opposed to kind of traditional exchange services that charge 5 to 10%. It's really scalping the customer. Western Union, these guys are slow, right? They take 2 to 3 days to settle your money. It's not the way you want it. Tron settles within a few seconds. So I think it's the way to go.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Justin Sun and Tron have done an incredible job, and congratulations to him. He just came back from space, so. Yeah.
That guy went to the sun.
Yeah, that guy's really doing something. So we're super excited to be working with him and that whole team. And I think it's incredible, and we're going to see just a lot more volume on Tron, and more people are just going to be adopting USDT on Tron, and we're really excited. Already, so many people use them. So what does tokenization mean for finance currently, and how has this emerging technology now changed the way the game is played?
So I think what we were dealing with the traditional system was a lot of layers of intermediaries, of different people that needed to take their cut in a lot of the transactions that exist, for example, within stock trading. And so one of the products that we're really, really excited about is tokenized stocks. And so what that basically is going to be is it'll allow you to 24/7, any day of the week, trade stocks on the open market, right? Even after hours, you'll be able to trade these stocks as well. And they're basically just other kinds of tokens, right? So they're equivalent in value. And that kind of plays into the whole stablecoin settlement concept, right? Like a lot of these stocks will now be settled in stablecoins. And we've seen, the huge players like Robinhood and a bunch of others already doing that, where they're settling on the weekends with stablecoins. And now, most recently, they've kind of just come out with a lot of tokenized stock offerings. But it's primarily targeted at Europe, right? And I think that's one of the things that we wanted to change, right? We need to make sure that gets access to the Middle East, where it's a very difficult place to get access to those kinds of stocks.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's incredible what's happening with the tokenization of real-world assets, and particularly what I find very interesting about tokenized stocks is the ability for ownership transfer. Mm-hmm. Now people can own X amount of stocks and easily transfer that ownership, which is something that I think was incredibly difficult before. And now you're able to transfer ownership of stocks, transfer ownership of anything that essentially becomes tokenized. And that's also a space where you're seeing a ton of companies emerge, like us, we're working with Denari, but there's X stocks with Solana. So there's a lot of people doing this right now just to give the world more access to US equities. And you're going to just see this in not just in the equity space, but you're going to see this in real estate. You're going to see this in so many different verticals.
There was some real estate that got sold in Dubai, actually, that was like, they were selling, as a tokenized real world asset. They were able to sell out like an entire apartment building, and then, someone else can then sell it from there. It becomes a very much more liquid process, right? To like actually sell or to trade these kinds of commodities. So
yeah, ultimately that was, what Bitcoin was designed upon, is that whole kind of peer-to-peer system. And now it's just really affected everything else. And now everything is just becoming peer-to-peer,
right.
Ownership transfer. Yeah, much more private. So that's been a huge game changer for sure. Let's talk about how we're making this accessible on the application. So maybe we talk a little bit about like what we're offering. I know you mentioned SpaceX and so on, and private companies.
So those are some other definitely some interesting stocks that we're going to offer on the platform. Things that are like pre-IPO companies. Those are something that we're really excited about. Stripe, OpenAI, SpaceX. Those are all tokens that actually there's a few players already out there that will actually just tokenize those products and allow people to trade them. So they're trading at a premium to what they would be available at for a priced round that one of these companies would typically have, but that's the price that you'd pay really if it was on the open market. So that's something really interesting in terms of at least price discovery of a lot of these assets, right? It's a new way for us to understand how much these companies are actually worth, right? It's not just their last price round, right? It's what the consumer is willing to pay for. It's giving retail access to these services, right?
Yeah,
companies.
Absolutely. And so we're working with a company called Denari, which offers those tokenized stocks on Arbitrum. So we're really excited to work with them. They're a great company.
Yeah. So I think like the point about Arbitrum is Arbitrum as a blockchain it's EVM compliant, which means it works with Ethereum, but it's a L2. So it means that it's a scaling solution. So it allows you to tokenize things for much cheaper. So for example, in this case, when you're talking about tokenizing stocks, it allows you to do that at fractions of a cent, and then those transactions trading, it all becomes a much cheaper ordeal than doing the traditional brokerage services, right?
Access to 24/7 trading, that's just a no-brainer for anyone, I think, and that's what tokenization is doing for the space, and it's just going to permeate into so many different things, and we're just going to
tokenize the world.
Yeah, tokenize the world, exactly. And you're going to just see so many companies popping up doing different things, and I think there's so much opportunity in this space for companies to build awesome products on top of this, and that's that layer on top of the tokenized economy. So that's something that's going to be really exciting. Do you want to talk a little bit about layer 0?
Yeah, so this kind of builds into the whole point of this stablecoin super bank of what we're building. So layer 0 is, they have something called an omni-fungible token standard. And so maybe some people have heard of NFTs. Those are non-fungible tokens, right? So an OFT is basically like a cross-chain token that allows you to do safe bridging of assets. So these assets can exist across multiple chains. For example, USDT is present on over 12 chains already, right? So that allows us to move money between those different ecosystems. And so that's how we're going to offer a lot of these different financial services that we've already got, right? Like tokenized stocks, savings. That means we can basically pick whichever chain we're looking for to offer the best service, right? When we're looking for stocks, that needs to be on Arbitrum, right? You could look for other chains, for example, like perpetuals. That's something that our customers are really interested in, and futures. That's going to be, hyper EVM, and that seamless flow between them and USDT 0, which is a product of layer 0 and USDT, is really the engine, I think, that's going to power all of that movement for the cheapest gas fees possible.
Let's touch on a little bit about the decisions we made when it came to the product in terms of the assets we support. Right. So of course, we offer this product to many places in the emerging markets, in Europe, and places where we think there would be high adoption for U.S. stablecoins and Bitcoin, of course, as well. So let's talk a little bit about why we chose Bitcoin and USDT and XAUT and Ethereum to be the assets that we support, why we made that decision as opposed to offering many different assets. Yeah. Maybe you can...
Yeah, no, so we've got the digital gold, which is XAUT, and we actually have what most people also call as digital gold, which is Bitcoin, which is, I think, a different kind of digital gold. It's based on math, is really the way that Bitcoin works. And I think it's just been proven time and time again that it's a superior form of money, and that's really the reason. It's really the gold standard for, in terms of quality of cryptos. It is the true peer-to-peer electronic cash.
And I think something that is very true about financial services is that the trust element is a huge factor in how you get adoption. And people obviously trust their your standard financial institutions, but when it came to us particularly, we had to make sure that in order to capture this market, that we support a few assets to make this a widely used product that feels more or something like their traditional bank. Obviously, just reworked with a much better interface and much more services, but ultimately feeling like something they felt before, so that you still have that trust element in this whole thing.
It's just simplifying the whole process, and that's the thing that's great, is that you can send in all these different currencies. You're able to, send in whatever your local currency is, which is the kind of crazy thing, right? Because you can use these assets that are in every single way superior assets to hold, right? These assets Bitcoin is the best performing asset class in history, right? And I think, a lot of that is also true for Ethereum and some of these other, tier 1 tokens like Ethereum and blockchains, right? So I think that Ethereum has a different reason as to why it will be successful. It really is the world computer is what it is. And it powers the engines of these tokenized stocks and, of those likes, right? That's what its function is to do. So I think that's the other component as to why Ethereum will be successful in the win. And then, we're of course looking at Solana as well. That should be added.
Yeah, we're adding Solana to the platform. That's coming pretty soon, because Solana is one of those ones that I think just became so wildly popular over the last year, and we've seen so many things developed on top of it that there's just a huge amount of opportunity there. And I think the demand is there, and people really trust it at this point. So for sure, that's why we're...
Yeah, those two, Ethereum and Solana, they're really neck and neck, and I think Ethereum has the ecosystem, and Solana has, I think, the speed is really what the case is for both of those, right? I think they're both great assets, to be honest with you, and I think they're both worth owning and having at least a little bit of allocation to. So
sure, and the staking experience has been pretty good with Solana as well. So that's something that's been good. So let's kind of zoom out a little bit and look at how what we're building on the rails that we're building is going to be more applicable to AI and this whole kind of programmable finance topic. So
I've got some news on that, actually. I literally just got a text from our AI dev on this, and he basically was telling me that he's already set up our MCP server. So that's basically like it'll allow all of these different connection points within our suite of services that we offer, right? Converting, sending, requesting money of people. So what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to actually interact directly with the AI in order to access those services. And so you've seen kind of some players do something like this. You've seen Stripe doing it for invoices where you can just kind of ChatGPT, make me this invoice for, $100 for this bouquet of flowers, right?
Yeah.
And what this is it's kind of an equivalent thing, but it's on a much more mobile-friendly user interface, right?
Yeah, and just to tie back a little bit, like this was that whole inflection point that we had where switching to stable coins now gave us access to all these things, because given that it is programmable, we're able to have you interact with the AI and have it help you make certain financial decisions, make certain plays or whatever you want to do within the application. So that's what I'm very excited about.
We called it Rumi AI. So I'm just, maybe you could tell a little bit of a story about why we called it that,
Yeah, Rumi, the philosopher, I think there's a lot of wisdom there. So one of them is, raise your words, not your voice. It is rain that grows flowers, not thunder. And I think that's very telling of our work culture and, how we support everyone in the organization. But yeah, we're going to see just something very interesting with, stable coins interacting with AI and AI agents being able to act on behalf of people and use those stable coins for whatever particular reason.
Yeah, and I'm super excited. I think that the MCP is going to be a really big deal. And you're basically just going to be able to talk to your phone and be like, do this, and then it will just go ahead and do all of those things for you and then just ask for a confirmation. And then, that kind of cuts down the time for a lot of people. You've seen there's some really interesting stuff going on with Perplexity and Comet that they're doing where it's like it can find basically the best prices and do the best kind of price discovery. So people will say like, oh, book my ticket to such and such location, find me the best price, just do it on my behalf and deal with it later. Or buy these set of groceries, find them from the cheapest providers, and it will do all of the research in order to do that. So I think that is kind of just like a super tool for budgeting as well. Like it's just going to change.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 110%. And so we have this, this whole community page that we've designed within our application, which allows people to access other services within the app to purchase eSIMs, book travel. And obviously we're seeing companies like Travala and alternative airlines, and we're seeing travel companies that are really adopting blockchain, really adopting crypto, and obviously crypto purchases. And you're just going to be able to connect with those websites and applications, and people are going to.
And you do that a lot. You pay for those kind of hotels or things like that yourself. You just do that usually with crypto, right? Like you do it with a card, of course, which is the Chem card, but then you can also just directly pay in crypto, which actually cuts out even more middlemen.
Yeah. Travala is really great. I've been using them for booking travel, and I think what we're just going to see is that it's going to be much more embedded in your applications, where you can just grant your AI permission to purchase a flight for you. The AI is going to say, hey, we got these flight options available, and it obviously will get that call back from Travala or whatever site you're using to pull up that information, and then you'll be able to permission the AI to use your wallet balance to then purchase that airline ticket. Okay, so we were talking about the whole AI interaction with money and how you can grant your AI permission to use your wallets, to book flights, and so on. And I think as the feedback loop between the AI and our applications will become better and better, people will just default to this as the method of purchase. Right. Just having your AI permission to use your wallet, book flights, book hotels, and it will be able to even curate a whole like travel, right, experience checklist or whatever, and you'll be able to book all those things with the AI and easily deduct it from your wallet balance. So that's why we're so grateful for the relationship that we have with Tether, and that building this thing that we're building on top of stablecoin infrastructure is
on top of the largest stablecoin, right? They already have the distribution. Yeah. We already have $160 billion of USDT that's been minted, right? And that's really the key strength here, right? And it's most distributed in the economies that most need it, right?
Absolutely.
And that's why Paolo always says it's about the emerging markets, and that building a stablecoin for the U.S. market is not necessarily the thing that's going to help. It's selling ice to Eskimos, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And he also was there at the White House. He met President Trump, which was pretty incredible. I couldn't believe that. And I gave him a big thank you.
Arduino.
I gave him a big thank you. So that's super awesome. So Let's talk a little bit about also the benefits of this when it comes to creators, culture, and like fast payouts. So I just wanted to touch on kind of performance-based payouts for influencers and creators. And I think what you're going to see now is stablecoins also being used for creator payout for different platforms. Yeah. I think it's just going to be a much easier way to pay people out based on the completion of whatever task or whatever, you know, KPI that needs.
Yeah, it's going to be automated, that it's like a smart contract or something like that, and it pays the person out as per how much, you know, views they're able to generate or work that they're able to complete, whatever. But even a delivery driver as well, that's another component as well. That's also going to happen, right? That's just going to be stable coins just sent out automatically upon completion of whatever the job you're doing is, right? You'll get access to your money quicker, right? In every instance.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is where we're going to see the big shift when it comes to stablecoin adoption. Like, you already have massive amounts of stablecoin adoption, but once you start, you know, getting those people on the stablecoin rails when they don't even realize that it's happening is when we're going to see, you know, a really, really big change in the next, I think even in the next year.
2025 is the year of the stablecoin. I think it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And so many businesses are just going to implement this into their payout systems, and it's just going to be much easier for settlement, much easier for the creator as well. And, you know, that's something that I think is going to be...
I think Rumble's your great example of that, right? Like, you know, those guys, you know, Tether also made an investment into them. And I think that's, you know, a great product of, you know, advancing freedom and freedom of speech through, you know, this kind of open platform, which is Rumble, right? YouTube is getting a lot of, you know, slack for, you know, removing people's content and things like that. And I think Rumble really stepped in with, you know, with the help, I think, of also USDT to be able to basically give everyone the access to a wallet that's also unimpeachable, right? Unbreakable. And I think that's something that's really, really strong as a selling point as to why you should use USDT and XAUT, both of them, which is tokenized gold. So that's something great that you're also going to be able to have access. And, of course, Bitcoin as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think also with connecting brands to talent as well, like, you'll be able to have wallet balances in your particular application that you may have. I know, you know, X is working on some stuff right now, but for example, you as a smaller brand want to work with a creator, you want to just settle with them instantly, you can just do it within that application.
Yeah. So I think you're seeing Base do this a little bit, but I don't know how successful it's going to be, right? I think coining content is not necessarily the way to go, but I still think that those people deserve probably to be paid out in that kind of automated system. I think that's what makes the most sense. But, you know, creating meme coins for tokens, I think that's not the way to go, I think, right?
Yeah, 100%. Being paid out in stables, I think, is what the norm is going to be. So maybe we talk about, you know, kind of where we operate right now, where we're seeking licenses. So maybe we talk a little bit about Bahrain, the stable.
Yeah, so license. we went there last week. We had a great time. Absolutely great, forward-thinking country in terms of everything that they're doing, right? You know, so their central bank issued this new regulation that was basically the first stablecoin regulation in the Middle East, and we are the first actually to apply. So we'll be the first to be able to create this Bahraini dinar stablecoin, as well as to be able to offer some of our crypto services there as well.
Yeah, so we're also, you know, in process of setting up a company in El Salvador. But just to make points about those two countries in particular and their friendliness towards crypto, their friendly, you know, their keenness on adopting all these new technologies. So in Bahrain, for example, they have this economic board of development, I believe, and the crown prince is the chairman on this economic development board. And so when we submitted the licensing to the central bank, the role and responsibility of the Economic Development Board is to make sure that all other, you know, government entities are fulfilling their duties in a timely manner to the people looking to set up operations in those countries. So, you know, I've seen a tremendous amount of growth in Bahrain, and you know, it's very exciting to see what the country is doing. And I think, you know, in a lot of ways, they might be like the El Salvador of the Gulf. You know, right. that beacon that's you know, has that freeness and openness to accept companies, you know, building in this space that's no longer even a frontier space. You know, you have developed players in the space, and
right.
It's very
Stablecoins are already 10 years old, really, in reality. You know, primarily they were used for mostly trading and stuff like that for Bitcoin, but I think this is the year where you're seeing the use and kind of, in our case, the use of it as like a stablecoin bank where you're able to spend this balance directly and all that. So yeah, they were super excited, and I think we're going to see a lot of change out of that country. And El Salvador is very, very cool as well. They give every bank a Bitcoin address, which I think is pretty cool, right? It's like,
yeah, I think JP Morgan is going to follow suit pretty soon now.
They must.
Yeah, absolutely. So coming back to our backstory, maybe we share a little bit about that and how this kind of whole thing started. So originally, obviously, we talked about this was a fiat application that we had launched in Kuwait to make it easy to send money to people, and it was just peer-to-peer money movement on the.
It was kind of born out of the University of Southern California, our fintech fundamentals class. Tim Lee, shout out to him.
Shout out Tim Lee.
So that was, I think, kind of our first kindling of that, and he basically said, "Go do it," and that was what I think was the first kind of ticker off. Where we're like, okay, well, we got to go do it, right? There's all these people that you're seeing that are treated very, very poorly by the traditional financial system, and I think that was what we were going after in the beginning, and that's kind of where we met George right afterwards, right? That was,
and I think it was just that continuous process of immersing yourself in that space, even though you maybe didn't necessarily know what the outcome was at the time.
Yeah.
Obviously, we were buying Bitcoin, but we really kind of didn't know what the outflowing technologies would come or as a result of this whole thing.
Yeah.
And then, stable coins just entered the space, and somehow, by some chance, our co-founder George was in Georgia, and
So we went to high school together with him. That's how we know. We actually went to boarding school together with him, and you two ran for student class president, right?
Yeah, we ran for student class president at that time, and he was the VP, and so we hadn't seen each other in years. And he was living in Georgia, and he was working on a few other startups, and he was working in venture capital at the time. And I went over there. And we were just talking about, the need for products in these markets and how, the access to financial services really isn't there for a lot of people still, even though it's been developed to a great level in the U.S. There's still.
I think that was George's addition that he added on, right? We were studying a lot in the U.S. and kind of like that market, and he was really looking east, right? He was looking at China as a market and really learning, I think, from a lot of those big players, like Alibaba and those guys. And
yeah, Alipay, incredible.
Some of his teachers as well, I think, were also from Alipay. So I think, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so when he was working in VC at the time, we talked a lot about this, and I had spent some time out there, and he, we're like, hey, you got to work on the project with us. Like, we could, really use it. And so then we became.
That's where he was going to get the most impact, right? Rather than just, working in a venture firm. It's very difficult to start another venture firm, but for him to have a lot of impact, I think he really came on board and kind of really took us to where we needed to go.
Yeah. And
helped us grow.
So then we had launched these fiat products, and, it was good in the very beginning, but then we had just kind of realized that maybe there was a much better way to do this because
it's too small of a pond.
Yeah, and dealing with banks as well was a little bit difficult at the time. And then George had an introduction with some people from the Tether team, so a lot of great guys at the Tether team. Marco, everyone, they're all great. Natia. So they've been very, very nice. Givi as well.
And they've kind of helped us along with this process and making.
Shout out Yuhao as well. shout out the whole team.
Yeah, no, they've been just helping us extend kind of dollar access to the whole world, right? And that's where we moved. We operate in over 70 countries, right? We can serve really the majority of the world, right, with these kinds of products with stable coins. And so I think
it's allowed us to expand our market reach.
Yeah, it's open.
By an infinite amount.
Yeah,
really.
Exactly. Because all these technologies are open. You can just, anyone can use them. Anyone can create wallets. Even those are. But we're trying to do something very particular, I think, which is to make your money even more useful, right?
Yeah,
apply it to more services.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And just the amount of things that you can build on top of that is just like enormous. And before, when we were doing it on fiat rails, to integrate certain things into the product, it was just incredibly difficult dealing with settlement and dealing with everything. And now,
even with third-party providers, it was very hard to work with. But now it's like stable coins.
Yeah, it was incredibly hard.
Connection to connection, like that, easy.
Actually, yeah, we're thankful. It took a huge weight off. So it's just made our lives incredibly incredibly easier.
And much more sophisticated technology, yet simple at the same time, right? it's very, very clear what the concept of what these tokens are, and you make these markets for these different kinds of products, whether it's tokenized stocks, whether it's even just swapping of different tokens, right? It's much more simple in its construction.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that's pretty much it. So I think we can call it at that, man.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much all we wanted to touch on. So
yeah, thank you so much for having us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for joining, guys.
Thank you for joining. Subscribe. Like, subscribe, download the Chem app.